I believe that the Panasonic GH5 is more than a great camera to run your whole filmmaking business with as a beginner, intermediate and even as a professional filmmaker. And this is why I won't switch to another primary camera anytime soon, also not in 2023. This, ladies and gentlemen, is most of the time my camera setup. Today this will be in the spotlight. This is the GH4 and it is the camera I started my filmmaking business with. After that I bought the GH5 and sometimes I shoot with Sony, with the A7 series or Canon, but I do 90% of my filmmaking business with the GH5. So in this video I will show you why and why it is also a great option for you. Money is probably a reason that a lot of people considering this camera. It came out in 2017. It went for sale for around $2,000, but it dropped since then with 50% for around $1,000. And yes, there is a Mark II now and also a GH5S, but the original GH5 is still for sale, new in the box. And for that price you get all the specs you need to run your filmmaking business. But before we talk about specs, let me show you some underrated things which I really love in this camera. And that is how user-friendly this camera is. It has a really easy to use menu. You can set your own favorite items in a separate menu. It has 7 different function buttons that you can dial into whatever you want. And you can dial in 3 presets over here to really quickly switch between different frame rates and resolution. Talking numbers, frame rates, resolution is all nice, but I don't know about you, my shoots are really chaotic and I want to have a camera that I can trust and that I can work with really quickly. I don't want to go into the menu every time I want to change just a little small thing. And to stay in this super convenient mindset, it has 2 SD card slots. You can use those as separate SD cards, but you can also back up everything you shoot on 2 SD cards, which is really nice if you're working for clients on important big shoots and you want to make sure that if a SD card crashes that you always have a second backup. I like to split up a action in wide, medium and close, so I run around a lot. Because of that, I'm most of the time a handheld guy. And this body has a 5-axis image stabilization system, which is really nice. Nice. It helps me to get my shots from this to this. Also the reason why the GH5S will never be an option for me. It does not have that. And I'm so used to it that I almost always forget how useful it is until I use another camera without it. And last but not least, the battery life. It's pretty good. A couple of small things that I found out were a big difference when I really used the camera instead of only reviewing it. It's time to talk about numbers because that is what makes this camera also relevant in 2023. I will do that on 3 different points. It has a super steady Full HD up to 60 FPS in 10-bit. For the first year I didn't even touch 10-bit. I always thought it was not worth the extra storage space. But I'm falling more and more in love with 10-bit when I'm shooting something cinematic that I want to color grade. Then it has a really nice 4K up to 60 FPS. Also 4K was something that I did not use a lot, but lately I can't ignore the difference between 1080p and 4K, so I shoot way more 4K now. And then it's nice to also have the option to shoot cinematic slow motion B-roll in 4K. And all of that without a crop. So I know exactly in every setting I shoot how my lens is producing an image. And last but not least, if you want to go even slower, you can shoot up to 180 FPS in full HD. But it will be baked in then, you can't record audio and it's harder to find the setting and set it right. It's called variable frame rate. But to fix that we have those preset modes over here. So for me, one of those presets, it's the variable frame rate with 120 FPS, so I can switch to it really quickly. So why would I ever want another camera? Nothing is perfect, guys, so what's wrong? First of all, the autofocus sucks. With some lenses it's okay, but the continuous autofocus, so when it follows your subject when it's moving, it really sucks. I even turned it off. Then the photo capabilities. If you take your time, you really can shoot a good photo with this camera. But overall, it's not a photo first camera. You feel that, you see that. And then the biggest con, we all know it, it's the sensor. Because this is a micro four thirds sensor, which means it's really small. And that brings some downsides. For example, that you always live with a 2x crop factor. But you can forget that because that will be your new normal. Your 50mm lens will be a 100mm, but in your mind it's still a 50mm. But the negative things you will notice are the bad low light capabilities. It has a small sensor, so it cannot let in a lot of light. Or the bokeh, the blurred cinematic background. You need a super low aperture to create that. And the terrible dynamic range. Try to avoid peak brightness or peak darkness because it can capture both. You really need to choose one, otherwise it will look awful. But yeah, overall, the Panasonic GH5 is super capable camera also in 2023. I will keep recommending it to beginner filmmakers that want to start their business or even more experienced filmmakers. You can only spend your money once, right? So as you can hear, this year I will keep shooting with my good old reliable GH5. So let me hear, what's your camera of choice, or which camera do you think I have to upgrade? Let me know down here in the comments. I hope to see you the next time here on Shoot That Video. Thank you and bye.